This industry records largest ever production, importation of styrofoam products to be banned by June next year, and new $5,000 note launch. You're watching Weekly Digest, the Government Information Agency program that keeps you up to date on what the government has been doing. With the details, I'm your host, Benita Mishra. This industry continues its outstanding performance, hitting an all-time high this year, surpassing the fixed targets as well as the 2012 figure by over 107,000 tons.
Production for 2013 topped 529,384 tons, exceeding the 422,057 tons produced in 2012, thereby increasing by 25.43%. The 2013 target of 413,031 tons was exceeded by 28.17%, or 116,353 tons. The yearly increased production has been accredited to more land being brought under cultivation and the provision of improved farming techniques with better seed variety.
We continue to improve our yields. We will surpass the single crop target in 2014 first crop. So rice continues to do well and compensate a little bit for some of the challenges we have.
Both crops for 2013 would have far outperformed their targets. The first crop target was 203,553 tons, but its yield was 264,321 tons, an increase of 29.85%. The second crop target of 209,478 tons was exceeded by 26.54%, reaching a production figure of 265,063 tons. This year, the farmers sowed a total of 165,461 hectares, harvested 160,742 hectares, and produced 805,121 metric tons of paddy.
In preparation of the upcoming 4th Annual Caribbean-United States Security Cooperation Dialogue in December, Guyana hosted the meeting of the CBSI Commission. This in itself is a demonstration of the country's commitment to ensuring the success of this initiative.
The government of Guyana is convinced that the crime and security challenges that face all of us demand that a holistic strategy should be employed to address them. If we as a region are to continue to develop and enhance the well-being of our citizens, we must, as a matter of necessity, take all steps to reduce crime and improve security in our countries.
The CBSI programs are built on 4 pillars: law enforcement, information sharing, law enforcement cooperation and capacity building, crime prevention and empowering youths, and maritime and aerial domain.
The CBSI has emerged as a genuine partnership among 14 nations, each bearing responsibility for ensuring progress toward our collective CBSI goals and objectives. As other regional security partnerships in the hemisphere, such as the Merida Initiative and the Central American Regional Security Initiative, or CARSI, have had an impact on international crime and violence in their respective regions, that's really raised the threat of illicit trafficking and crime in this region. And that's why it's really so vital for the CBSI to succeed.
The meeting of the Commission was deemed a tremendous success. The progress made thus far with CBSI projects were reviewed and recommendations were made with regards to the areas that require improvement.
Working collaboratively with the government of the United States of America, we have already put in place, as I indicated, several programs and initiatives and projects which will reflect the priorities, the strategic goals and priorities that are outlined in our own CARICOM crime and security strategy. I just would like to say that this will be serving as the blueprint, the main document that will inform our policies and initiatives on security and cooperation with our international partners.
In keeping with the currency reform process, the Bank of Guyana officially launched the $5,000 note, which will be put into circulation on December 9. This note will significantly reduce the number of notes that the bank will be required to process in the fast approaching holiday season. It has the full support of the Guyana Association of Bankers and will significantly improve the efficacy of the payment system.
The time between the launch and the issue will be used to familiarize the public with the security features of this note through posters, flyers, presentations, as well as television and newspaper ads. The issue date was chosen to meet the seasonal demand for high denomination currency, which would usually pose a challenge for the bank. With this note, the bank will undoubtedly meet the seasonal increase and reduce the number of notes that the bank would be required to process.
The tender for the printing of the note, which bears the signature of the Governor of the Bank of Guyana and the Minister of Finance, was won by Auberteur Fiduciaire from France. The high denomination note represents an important addition to the range of local currency in use.
It is anticipated that the availability of a higher denomination will reduce handling costs, particularly on the part of businesses that handle large volumes of cash, and now can reduce by a fifth, by 4/5, I guess, the volume of currency or banknotes that are handled, given that they will now be handling a single $5,000 note for every 5 $1,000 note that they would previously have been handling. So from that regard, the availability of this new higher denomination does in fact ease the cash handling costs borne by businesses. On a smaller scale, it perhaps also eases the convenience with which individual consumers who carry cash will be able to execute their cash transactions. Again, for the same reason, the availability of a higher denomination instead of 5 of smaller denomination. It is important to emphasize that this really just represents a new denomination. That is to say that our dollar has exactly the same value today as it had yesterday.
The face side of the note carries the map of Guyana with its natural resources, while the reverse portrays the national bird and the rainforest. It measures 156 millimeters by 65 millimeters, similar to existing notes, with the main colors being magenta and green. Monitoring and evaluation workshops hosted by the Finance Ministry focused on establishing a framework for achieving greater effectiveness in government.
The Ministry of Finance's Monitoring and Evaluation Workshop from November 18 to 22 targeted managers from various ministries as well as the Parliament Office, focusing on the designing and building of a results-based monitoring and evaluation system.
If we work as hard as we possibly can, if we ensure that our colleagues work as hard as we possibly can, then we are contributing to the achievement of that more effective public service to which we aspire.
The minister said that government has recognized the need to promote more effective management within the system and pointed out this would rest with the workers and individuals within the system who have the responsibility to ensure that they do their part. During the workshop for permanent secretaries, the minister noted that a robust system of evidence-based ultimatums, strong systems to capture data, which would inform about effective performance, would in turn inform on a more rigorous basis on how to choose what is needed.
We have undertaken in the Ministry of Finance to implement across government a formal system for monitoring and evaluation, which is inextricably monitoring and evaluation. M&E might be the term that is more in vogue, but results-based management is a term that you may have heard before. They are inextricably linked to each other. And our intention is to ensure that across government, this system is implemented with the aim of ensuring that we have a rigorous basis for monitoring and managing effectively.
The workshops were conducted by Dr. Ray Riss, a renowned world authority on developing, monitoring and evaluation systems and co-founder of the International Program for Development Evaluation Training. Dr. Riss focused on topics which cover the understanding of the evaluation context and the program theory of change, developing evaluation questions and starting the design matrix, selecting designs, data collection, data analysis and presenting results.
About 42,000 pensioners will receive their 2014 pension books in advance as the distribution process is currently on the way.
Starting on November 18, the distribution process will culminate on December 13.
I feel good to the pension because I am happy because I could get my own money to spend.
I think it's tremendous. I didn't expect that so early, and it's commendable because I've been doing it for years for my mother, not me, and used to get a more bottleneck, but not now. It is good.
I appreciate it a lot because you could buy more food, and you could always have a little something in your hand in case of emergency. It's very good.
Over the years, government has been steadily increasing the non-contributory old age pension paid as a supportive supplement to persons over the age of 65. This year, they are receiving $12,500.
There's more to come. Please stay tuned.
With the Amaila Falls Hydropower project, all consumers will benefit from cheap and reliable electricity. In fact, reduction in consumer tariffs will be at least 20% in 2017 and considerably more in the years ahead. This project will save residential, commercial and industrial entities approximately $3.5 billion over a period of 20 years. At present, it costs about 25 cents per kilowatt hour to generate electricity using heavy fuel oil and about 30 to 35 cents per kilowatt hour using diesel. With Amaila, Guyana will save a dramatic 20 to 25% on its fuel importation bill, or about $90 million. Investors' confidence in Guyana will increase, and the manufacturing and services sector will be significantly boosted. In the climate change arena, Guyana has already taken on a leadership role with its low-carbon development strategy, and with this Amaila project, the country could also become a leader globally for renewable power. This project will add 6 percentage points to real GDP growth during the construction phase alone. The total public debt to Guyana for this project is zero. Cheap energy is vital to the industrialization of Guyana. Thousands of jobs would be created due to industrialization. After 20 years, the hydropower facility will be 100% owned by Guyanese, and it is expected to last 100 years.
Millions of taxpayers' dollars have already been spent on the Amaila Falls Hydropower project, which is now in its final stages of achieving financial closure. However, the APNU and AFC teamed up in Parliament to kill the project without any valid reason, and in so doing taking cheap electricity out of the reach of Guyanese. Frustrating a project of this magnitude at this stage is tantamount to strangling the country's development and putting at stake the future of every man, woman and child. Guyana needs the Amaila Falls Hydropower project because all consumers will benefit from cheap and reliable electricity. Consumers will save approximately $3.5 billion over a period of 20 years. Guyana will save $90 million on fuel importation, and investors' confidence in Guyana will increase. More jobs will be available. All Guyanese need to come on board now. Reduction in consumer tariffs will be at least 20%.
In pursuit of the goal of achieving a green economy, the government of Guyana has decided to ban the importation and use of styrofoam from June 1, 2014.
The move is just part of a comprehensive menu of initiatives by government to move Guyana further along the path to a green economy.
We've seen the research which speak about the health risk of persons using a particular material. If we've seen that globally, countries are moving in this direction, if we know for a fact it will allow us to better manage our environment and take care of the problems when there's rainfall, be it in the city or elsewhere, and we do not take the necessary steps, we will be failing in our duties. And as representatives of our people, we are expected to act.
The dangers of styrofoam are well known, and many countries are moving towards ending their uses of the product. Minister Prasad is calling on consumers to support those businesses which have moved and are moving towards the use of recyclable containers.
We need, as consumers, to recognize how powerful we are in this regard and the choices that we make. Not because junk and danger is imported mean that we are compelled to go after it, but rather we need to make sensible choice. And for the point I made earlier, this initiative, as other initiatives, will only succeed if we have broad support.
The decision to ban styrofoam was made by Cabinet, as was the provision of tax incentives for importers of biodegradable packaging after some 2 years of discussions and consultations.
The Ministry of Tourism is looking at several developmental projects to boost the sector and to ensure a more comfortable and hospitable environment for tourists.
Guyana is attracting more visitors, and in line with this development, more airlines are interested in operating the Guyana route.
I'm very happy to say that hopefully within a few weeks, we'll have a major announcement in Guyana on a major carrier that will be coming to Guyana. I think this weekend and within 2 weeks, Conviasa Airlines should commence operation from Port-au-Vase.
Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce Acting Irfan Ali recently highlighted that apart from these two airlines, there are many other air services that are showing interest in operating in Guyana, but are concerned about the expansion of the airport.
We need the airport not only for a 30 to 40 year projection, but we need the airport like yesterday. Even with the present traffic for this season, we have lines going out onto the tarmac where the aircrafts are parked. That cannot be a good welcome for persons coming in here. We have one conveyor belt coming out with suitcases when you have thousands of people waiting. A large airlines told us up to today, we want to plan our schedule. When are you going to extend the runway to 9,000 feet? By the additional 9,000 feet.
This is an effort by the ministry to improve the tourism sector and promote a more comfortable and welcoming Guyana to all visitors, while promoting Guyana as a viable tourism destination.
Guyana and Trinidad are forging ahead with the agreement which allows for investors from the Twin Island Republic to engage in large-scale farming in Guyana. The venture will see both countries engaging in more economic activities.
Earlier this year, a memorandum of understanding was signed between Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago, whereby 10,000 acres of land will be made available to investors and farmers of the Twin Island Republic for agricultural development. Trinidad's Agriculture Minister, Devant Maharaj, recently met and held discussions with the local Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Leslie Ramsamy, to further deepen and develop the agreement and identify land space.
Guyana has a huge amount of land that can be utilized for agriculture. Right now, outside of the 500,000 hectares of land that are under full or some cultivation, there is also the potential for 3.3 million hectares. We are hoping that some of the Trinidadian investors will get into new areas. The first thing we had to agree on is what are the commodities. We now have, within this framework, some of those commodities, and only this morning at our meeting, through the technical group that met, the ministers met and agreed that these are appropriate commodities for us to advance in this collaboration. Now that we know the commodities, we can begin to consider appropriate geographical locations in Guyana. The technical group will begin to meet immediately. There is a group of 6, 3 from Trinidad and 3 from Guyana. The focal point in Guyana is the permanent secretary. They will meet now, and within 2 weeks, we will identify to Trinidad the potential area.
Since the signing, several visits have been made and meetings held by officials between Trinidad and Guyana. As a result, 6 commodities were identified that would be best suitable for the land usage. These are corn, soya, cassava, legumes, and agriculture.
We further mandated the technical teams to meet next Friday in Trinidad, where the harmonization of and standardization of policies, strategies, and what do you call it? SPSF, which is the sanitary policies and so on, will be worked out so that it would facilitate for the importation of products and crops and so on grown in Guyana to Trinidad easily.
This project follows through on the JAGDU initiative proposed to CARICOM for countries to collaborate with Guyana and expand its underdeveloped agricultural lands. This strategy is geared towards reducing food import bills from countries outside the region, increase interregional food security, and reduce food inflation.
There's more to come. Please stay tuned.
Guyana needs the Amalia Falls hydropower project because all consumers will benefit from cheap and reliable electricity. Consumers will save approximately $3.5 billion over a period of 20 years. Guyana will save $90 million on fuel importation, and investors' confidence in Guyana will increase. More jobs will be available. All Guyanese need to come on board now. Reduction in consumer tariffs will be at least 20%.
With the Amaila Falls hydropower project, all consumers will benefit from cheap and reliable electricity. In fact, reduction in consumer tariffs will be at least 20% in 2017 and considerably more in the years ahead. This project will save residential, commercial, and industrial entities approximately $3.5 billion over a period of 20 years. At present, it costs about 25 cents per kilowatt hour to generate electricity using heavy fuel oil and about 30 to 35 cents per kilowatt hour using diesel. With Amaila, Guyana will save a dramatic 20 to 25% on its fuel importation bill, or about $90 million. Investors' confidence in Guyana will increase, and the manufacturing and services sector will be significantly boosted. In the climate change arena, Guyana has already taken on a leadership role with its low-carbon development strategy, and with this Amaila project, the country could also become a leader globally for renewable power. This project will add 6 percentage points to real GDP growth during the construction phase alone. The total public debt to Guyana for this project is 0. Cheap energy is vital to the industrialization of Guyana. Thousands of jobs would be created due to industrialization. After 20 years, the hydropower facility will be 100% owned by Guyanese, and it is expected to last 100 years.
Millions of taxpayers' dollars have already been spent on the Amalia Falls hydropower project, which is now in its final stages of achieving financial closure. However, the APNU and AFC teamed up in Parliament to kill the project without any valid reason, and in so doing taking cheap electricity out of the reach of Guyanese. Frustrating a project of this magnitude at this stage is tantamount to strangling the country's development and putting at stake the future of every man, woman and child.
During Cabinet's meeting on November 19, several issues of national concern were discussed. These were subsequently relayed to the media.
Several announcements were made during the last post-cabinet media briefing. Cabinet Secretary Dr. Roger Luncheon announced the creation of 17 district tender boards in the 10 administrative regions of Guyana at the request of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development.
These boards would occupy the lowest tier in the procurement architecture in the public sector in Guyana. that is ranging from the highest level, the National Procurement and Tender Administration Board, to this now the lowest, the district tender boards, and in between the ministerial, departmental, and the regional tender boards.
Dr. Luncheon also announced that in the wake of the media revelations and in the context of its recent execution of the Memorandum of Understanding with the Nature Globe Guyana Inc., government has decided to withdraw its execution of the MOU with the firm.
The due diligence, I would be the first to concede, did not attract the same level of due diligence as it would have had it been for the execution of a contract. So a number of areas were inadequately attended to, and the revelations in the media pointed this out rather forcibly for the attention not only of cabinet but for the Guyanese people.
It was also announced that public servants, with the exception of teachers who obtained their increases under a multi-year agreement in January, can expect an increase in their wages come year-end.
There will be salary increases in 2013. The Minister of the Public Service reflected on the output of the engagements of the ministry yesterday at Cabinet, and I think it would be fair to say that the conclusions that one could draw is that there will be a salary increase. It is not likely to exceed the planned 5% that is in the budget, and an announcement ought to be made soon.
Government, in conjunction with the Labour Ministry, continues to monitor the implementation of the new minimum wage order of 2013, which took effect from July 1. Finally, no objections were granted to 9 contracts in the areas of infrastructure, agriculture and health, with agriculture taking the largest allocation of $101.7 million.
And that's all we have for you on this week's program, but before we go, here's a recap of the highlights. Rice industry records the largest ever production, importation of styrofoam products to be banned by June next year, and new $5,000 note launched. Remember that Weekly Digest and other government information can be found on our website www.gina.gov.gy, or you can send us your comments and suggestions at gina@gina.gov.gy. Thank you for watching, and do join us again next week for another program. Until then, be safe and have a great rest of the week.